Hi, I'm Nate Bronner with the Virginia Cooperative Extension and the Master Gardener Program, and I'd like to welcome you back to my garden. Autumn's in the air, and I'd like to talk about gardening in the fall. Because with the decreased temperatures right now, with the decreased sunlight, the sun is cutting a lower arc in the sky every day and will continue to do that until the end of December. We're getting less light and less temperature, less heat in the garden, which means that a lot of the plants that we counted on for production during the summer are dying back or stopping producing altogether. My beans right here are slowly stopping. They're not producing that much anymore. I'm leaving them up right now because they help the bees orient their beeline up and out of the garden. But other things like my squash are really cutting back. It's still producing one squash down here, but that's probably the last one that it's going to be producing. Zucchini and cucumbers also are on their way out. So right now is time to tidy up the garden, take those plants out that are not producing anymore or are dying back. It's also time to take a look at your herbs. Right now is a perfect time to be collecting and harvesting some of your herbs, drying them or freezing them if you'd like, and preserving them so you can continue to use those herbs that you grew throughout the winter as you don't have fresh herbs available. As an example, right here this morning I harvested some of my stevia. My stevia was getting ready to set flowers. It was, once it starts setting flowers, the sweetness of the leaves will be decreased quite a bit. So I cut the stevia out, and I'm going to be hanging this up in a dark, dry place where the leaves can dry out. I'm also going to be putting it in a large paper bag. Why? Because as it dries out and some of the leaves fall off, I want to be able to collect some of those leaves in that paper bag. You don't want anything airtight. You want something that's going to allow some air flow through there. But in the top of a tall closet or a pantry, that's an ideal location for something like this stevia. It'll also work with other plants like rosemary and thyme, and so you can make sure that you have a supply of those as you go through the winter. I'll put some links at the end of this with some tips on how you can do that more efficiently. There are some plants that are going to continue producing. Tomatoes do a lot of their production when nighttime temperatures are below 70 degrees, which means that those tomato plants that kind of took a pause for production during the summertime, those might be coming back now, especially your indeterminate tomatoes. So you might see the production start picking up and giving you some more tomatoes. Also, peppers and eggplants will continue producing all the way up until the first frost. So you can leave those plants as long as they're healthy in place and let them and continue to harvest the goodness off of them. Sweet potatoes, you can start harvesting those, but I leave my sweet potatoes in the ground or in the pots until we get closer to the first frost, and I harvest them then. I want them to take advantage of all of the good growing days that there are until that first frost. But right now, as we transition and pull some of those plants out of our garden, that means that we have more room in our garden. So we can start thinking about things that we want to plant that do very well in cool seasons. Plants like lettuce, spinach, broccoli and cauliflower, carrots and radishes, and my favorite, sugar snap peas. This is a perfect time to clear off the leaf litter out of your garden, clear off the plants that aren't going to be growing out there anymore. Maybe put down a fresh layer of compost in there that'll help feed the dirt and also your plants as they're growing up, and allow them to do well. Now is a perfect time before you plant to put down a nice layer of compost. When you're planting things like my favorite, sugar snap peas. Sugar snap peas, you can buy them really easily in packets, and they'll look like this. It looks like tiny little peas. What you want to do with sugar snap peas is you want to fill up a small dish like this, about halfway full, with warm water, like 120 degrees right out of the tap. Then put the peas in there and let them soak for about a half hour to an hour. Those peas will start to open up and allow that water to come in and start the germination process. After about a half hour or an hour of them soaking in here, you can dig a little furrow and plant them in a row about 1.5 to 2 inches apart, all along that row, and you want to plant them about 1 inch deep. If you ever forget how deep to be planting your seeds, think about 3 times the width of the seed. That's about the depth that you want to be planting them, but about 1 inch in this case will work. Loosely cover it with soil and water it in. Peas don't like drying out. and then let them start coming up. You can see here some sugar snap peas that a row of them that I planted on September 9th. So today is September 23rd, and they're all nicely coming up after 2 weeks. This is the amount of growth that you can expect to see. Those will get up quite a bit higher. When they do get up higher, I'm going to be using some vertical gardening techniques, like a small trellis like this. I'll put that trellis in the garden right here and allow those peas to grow up, and so they're not growing on each other, they're spreading out vertically, and it also makes it easier for me to see the peas as they ripen on here and be able to pick them. Vertical gardening is a great technique to use with peas. Other plants, you have to really read the label on the seed packet when you go to plant them. I told you about 3 times the width of the seed, but some seeds, like lettuces, need light to germinate and are best surface germinated. All you have to do is smooth out the surface and plant 1 seed in each location that you want it, and then water that in. Nice gentle water over the top of it, and those lettuces will start germinating just fine. I planted some lettuces right over here. I can see the first shoots starting to come up. Also some spinaches right over in that part of the garden, and those are slowly starting to germinate. It takes about 10 days to 2 weeks to start seeing things pop, but pop they will, and they're going to be coming up. As you do that, make sure your spacing is right. If you dropped in a couple of extra seeds and there's one coming up that's a little bit too close, go ahead and pinch that off right away and allow the other plants in that area to use the nutrients in the soil to grow, rather than competing with each other when they're too close together. Trellises are awesome. We talked about the trellises. We talked about how to space them out here in your garden. And really, right now is the time to have fun. We are right now in the middle to the end of September, about 7 to 8 weeks away from the typical first frost in our part of Virginia, which means that they have plenty of growing time to grow up and give you a crop if you plant them now before we start getting into the frost. And even once we get to the frost, I'll be coming out with another video in about a month to show you how to build row covers or bed covers in a very easy way to help extend your growing season, so you could actually enjoy a lot of these fresh greens for quite a while into the winter. If you'd like any more information, you can contact the Virginia Cooperative Extension Office at 890-4940. Alternatively, you can go online to yorkcounty.gov/VCE for Virginia Cooperative Extension.